Welcome to another video, in which I want to share with you my initial thoughts about the Dragoon in Endwalker. As I haven't played any other melee yet, the Dragoon had been my first, but Red Mage and Summoner are still a good comparison. So let us dive in, shall we? First of all, the leveling experience wasn't any worse nor better than on the caster counterparts, but as far as AoE damage and spontaneous mob killing goes, I always felt the Dragoon to lack this little oomph due to the fact that you have to enter melee range, so this might not be a Dragoon thing, but compared to the mighty AoEs on Summoner, I was really falling behind and even missed contribution on certain fates or skirmishes in Bodja or Zadnor. However, this didn't last for too long, as when I entered dungeons, especially with the endgame Wyrm thrust being added to the rotation, there was much more room to show the Dragoon's AoE potential, especially when your Life of the Dragon phase is ready and you're on fire, or better said, can set your enemies on fire with Dragonfire Dive. Nonetheless, while I like the idea of cone AoEs and having a certain skill requirement to properly hit targets as best as possible, due to these super annoying hitboxes in Final Fantasy, it feels like you are in a clear disadvantage against all those jobs that use skills or spells onto one enemy forming the center of your AoE attack. Above that, and when you're not having your Life of the Dragon phase ready, I do think that the Dragoon falls behind at least Summoner and Red Mage, and while I have seen Reapers really struggling in dealing AoE damage at all, this might be a trade close to melee jobs, except the one Samurai that came very close to my Summoner's AoE potential that I consider the most powerful at the moment. Okay, what about job changes and the rotation for single target, which is our bread and butter, right? Here, changes are small but significant, especially on the utility department with Piercing Talon that doesn't interrupt your combo anymore, while having an additional Spine Shatter dive with very good synergy towards Elusive Jump. However, and like I always wished for the NP combo on the Samurai as well, it would still be cool if using this ranged attack would actually grant you something, at least when using it after Elusive Jump, so you have a really good feeling of, yeah, I'm allowed to avoid this AoE effect and on top of it, benefit from my Piercing Talon proc whatsoever. Instead of, ah man, I have to move out here ASAP, hopefully I'm not delaying my combo too much. Square should have gone the other way to make eluding AoEs and mechanics more rewarding, like they did with Mitigation already, so that you're not having a bad taste in your mouth doing the Elusive Jump, Piercing Talon and Spine Shatter Dive combo, but instead really being rewarded to risk situations like these. But like I said, it seems not to be something strictly a problem of our lance-wielding fellow, but most melee jobs have something to fight off delay and off-putting your rotation, but not something to really get a good bonus from being smart and keen with your avoidance maneuver. Yet, I do have some hope for the Reaper's porting stuff to grant at least something cool, but more to that when I have leveled it up. However, the biggest change for me personally is the integration of Blood of the Dragon that now passively works alongside your combos and attacks, which seems to be super boring for Dragoon experts and not like a change worth mentioning, but for Dragoon casuals like me, oh man, this makes all the timings and especially the opener or intermission phases so much more enjoyable, that I was really astonished how easily I could get back into the job. Nonetheless, I would still subscribe to the idea that there is something missing in Endwalker, something other jobs did receive as the cherry on top or as the error 2002 to 7000 player queue. Maybe I'm finicky, but just a random OGCD featured as the final level 90 skill, this seems to fall on the low side of creativity when it comes to invent new endgame ideas for each job. Yes, now each Raiden's thrust has a meaning over just sparkling and being animated differently, and of course I love the chaotic spring sound effect, but when breaking down the whole thing and comparing it to Shadowbringers, added stacks to Life Surge and Spine Shatter Dive feel much more like changes to your actual rotation, instead of this random OGCD that really doesn't fit anywhere else than to just spam it once it activates. On the other hand, the complexity level push from Heavensward to Stormblood with the whole Life of the Dragon aspect is just so good that we might not need any additions at all, and I feel this could be the consensus of Team Dragoon at Square headquarters, and I agree, don't fix what's not broken. So players that love the Dragoon in Shadowbringers will love it in Endwalker even more due to quality of life improvements and a very high damage output. But still, where light is there has to be dark, right? And the next part, however, might be painful for some passionate floor tanks out there that fell in love with the Dragoon from the first hour, so please watch further with caution and get ready for some serious thrusts into the eyes of the dragon. Just remember that the following aspects are super personal and might not really apply or hurt your own sensation and enjoyment. Holy crap, why do these animation delays still exist? Yes, giving bad opinion formed of a meme sounds like a stupid idea, but let me tell you this. The meme is well founded. There's no other job you can play with such an arsenal of animation delays that it really hurts my gameplay hard. What could possibly have been the fastest and smoothest job this game has to offer, with actions per minute unrivaled by any other competitor. The delays on Stardiver and High Jump are insane, but even Spine Shatter Dive and Dragonfire Dive don't feel totally smooth. We reduced animation delay and improved a smooth input for many abilities. Yeah, which abilities do you mean specifically? Not the Dragoon ones as far as I have tested them, and definitely not Salted Earth or stuff alike. Did they actually improve something on that department at all? I am really not sure. Yeah, some new skills and weaving in general feels slightly more responsive, but those departments where this had been an issue for a long time, I cannot feel any change to be impactful enough to fix it. I mean, by the 12th, what is wrong with Dragon's Sight and its use on other players? I don't want to spam a button that is supposed to line up very cleanly in my rotation and where timing is definitely an issue if not working correctly, ending up in sometimes just pushing this effect onto myself alone and feeling bad afterwards. And I'm certainly not alone. Many others have commented on how unresponsive this stupid ability is, and that even if you're being prepared for the delay, you might still run into issues. Yes, all these animation delays grant the Dragoon a deserving tactical aspect that it might not have without this problem, but in all honesty, I would really love to see this aspect improved, even if it means that animations might not be as cool as they are. Yeah, you could argue with the fact that in Final Fantasy Tactics or Final Fantasy IV or 9 or any game where Dragoons were featured, this jump ability was always a sort of delayed attack with a preparation time. And yes, they could sell it that way, but not in a game where keen movement, timing and especially positioning are key to overcome extreme, savage or even normal encounters sometimes, not speaking of ultimate. This combined with the fact that not a single attack feels more powerful than the other attacks, even the life search Heaven's Thrust doesn't stand out that much compared to all the other skills, and while this is indeed something that is not gameplay relevant, it always feels like there's no clear highlight in your rotation. Even the life of the dragon phase is just like a massive addition of OGCDs, but not really strong attacks devastating your enemies. Stardiver only beats out Heaven's Thrust in raw potency, but cannot be utilized with life search, which I would love to see happening, and mindlessly rotating between buffing and dotting, then thrusting again, and never doing anything else except OGCD stances that happen in the meantime. I don't know, it feels really outdated for me and not something I would main with full motivation. Above that, the continuous follow-up of a rear positional followed by a flank positional still is a big stepping stone for me. Because I'm not frequently playing melee jobs and every time the boss is being moved, while on Samurai or Ninja, these positional swaps are much less frequent, and even the Monk and Reaper, as far as I have played them in Endwalker, don't suffer from such a quick change of positionals in direct correlation. I'm really curious how the Reaper and Samurai perform and compare against this, but I cannot stand the delay of before mentioned abilities, which might create a tactical aspect but sacrifices smoothness against clunkiness. Still, don't let yourself be demotivated by this speech, because when you love the Dragoon or you want to give it a chance, this whole aspect is just my personal issue with the job, and the reasons that I find all the good aspects on the Red Mage without these downsides is just a fact I cannot ignore, as well as raising capabilities, especially in proc parties that I consider as the most important constellation of Party Finder. The Dragoon doesn't stand against the powerhouse of Summon and Red Mage, especially if they up the damage of the first and keep the balancing of the latter. Nonetheless, Dragoon offers unique traits like selective party buffs that are still clunky in their execution but work wonders from their effect, as well as being able to move far distances, and if you don't compare it to Red Mage, whose utility and gap closers are simply just better, some jobs don't have these at all. So you might favor melee combat over casting and the deal is set here. So for the love to Estinian and the insanely powerful style and edge on this job, please try it out for yourself and don't heed my words, because I'm just a bad melee player anyways and all the rant comes from my inability to play those jobs properly. But at least in theory and on dummy fights, my skills might be helpful to some of you and there will be a comprehensive Dragoon guide coming soon. So stick around and keep living the life of the dragon. Until next time, keep the flaws safe, keep the delays in check and keep loving Final Fantasy.